All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about an update for the Errol Spence Jr. Terence Crawford fight given by Stephen Espinoza of Showtime. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. In this video, we're going to be in the 147-pound division. Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford update provided by Stephen Espinoza, so we all kind of know what everybody knows. But before I get into that, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, please accept my invitation to subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. Also, if you're a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, thank you so much for your support. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. So let's get into this. According to Stephen Espinoza says that he pretty much co-signs what Errol Spence Jr. says, and says that he believes that they are getting close to making the fight between Terence Crawford and Errol Spence for the undisputed welterweight champion of the world, that they are in a situation where they just have to, go through grind through the details of the deal, and, hammer everything out in a way that is exceptional. He said that there is no other network deal for Terence Crawford to stand in the way of the fight. So, just listening to what he had to say, I would believe that it sounds as if what he said is he's optimistic about that fight. Now, what does that mean in any real sense? Not a lot. Doesn't mean that the fight is going to go happen. It doesn't mean that the fight is going to happen. There's been a bunch of times when fights have been, where you hear that negotiations are close or they're right there, and the negotiation pretty much falls to the wayside in the last minute because they're unable to complete one particular facet of it or another. And then also kind of listening to what Stephen Espinoza had to say, it doesn't really sound that much different than what Stephen Espinoza was saying before, except for it seems like they may have gotten past the money issue. At least that's listening to what he had to say. There is, a possibility that they've gotten beyond that, because they're saying now they're just working through and grinding through the details of the deal. And I would suspect that may not have to do with like the real big issues, which is, how much he's going to make for the fight, right? He did, because before, when Espinoza talked about the fight, he was very clear that the fight was, the biggest holdup on the fight was the money. Now, strangely enough, when you compare the two things, he said originally that the money was the only holdup for the fight, right? He didn't say that, that there were other things to be worked out. He basically said, look, that, he said the same thing, that he was optimistic about the fight, that, there was a better chance of it happening before than it was, happening now than it was before, because he doesn't have any kind of other network obligations where they have to work, with Bob Arum between Top Rank and Showtime, and that's pretty much seems to be the same. So, but hopefully that's the situation. Now, he also said that he was going to be backing Errol Spence Jr. in what Errol Spence Jr. is saying in the fight, and saying that, look, if Errol is super optimistic about this fight, we may be saying the same thing. So I'm not sure if this is a scenario where Stephen Espinoza is kind of backing Errol Spence Jr. in Errol Spence Jr.'s optimism about the fight, or whether it is, like there's really been any type of real groundbreaking type of advancement in it. I really can't say which one that is, just judging off of his tone. He didn't seem particularly excited about it, right? But, a lot of stuff can be read into that. Now, as far as the Terence Crawford side and what they said, they, at least Bernie the Boxer, not Terence Crawford, right? But Bernie the Boxer, what he said last week was, hey, look, man, that they are trying to give, every advantage to Terence Crawford in the negotiation, and that was frustrating Terence Crawford. Not sure what those things are specifically. Could be the venue, could be the purse split, could be Could be the rematch clause. Could be a lot of different things that Bernie the Boxer is implying to, where they're saying that they're looking to get all of the advantages for Errol Spence Jr. But again, that is pretty much what they're supposed to do. It's talking about the PBC and Showtime. That's pretty much par for the course, where a guy fights on a network and has had a long-standing relationship with a network. When they're going to try to make sure that that they have they have as much advantages for one guy over the other as possible. You see that with Top Rank all the time. Top Rank did that with Manny Pacquiao. Did that with, actually, they didn't do that with Manny Pacquiao and Jeff Horn. They actually trapped Jeff Horn in that deal in Australia. So that kind of messes up my scenario, but because that's actually the opposite one, where you would think the established guy would get, what he wants out of it. But the government of Queensland was really paying for the fight at that time. So that's where they got, that's how they got that. But it would have served for a 2-fight deal for Manny Pacquiao, and he did have a rematch clause, right? So at least in that scenario, the rematch clause fits my scenario. In this one, the rematch clause could very well be the same situation. That's what people had been talking about. Right? Who's going to get the rematch clause? If Errol gets a rematch clause, loses, is he going to get the rematch clause? And then Terence Crawford is not, right? How does all that type of stuff work out? But they also said that they believe that they can get that fight done this year. No talk about whether or not, this year means September or October. I would suspect, because we're in July and you have August, July, August, September, that it's not going to be in September. The earliest that's going to be is in October. You may be looking at November and December, for this fight to happen. But, it seems as if, Errol Spence Jr. for his part is really, really pushing it, and has, and definitely has a big desire to get this fight done. And the Showtime is reflecting that, in the attitude where they're talking about the fight. I still maintain that the big mystery part of it is Terence Crawford. But again, I don't believe that the mystery associated with it is going to be related to whether or not Terence Crawford can win the fight, or whether he's scared of Errol Spence Jr. I don't believe that is the case. What I believe is that it really is around the details of the deal and the money associated with the deal. And there's nothing wrong for Terence Crawford to be feeling like that, or handling his business like that. That's pretty much what the man should do, is stay, focused on getting as much money as he can, making sure that all of the things that will protect him in that fight are in place, that will protect his career are in place. And that's just what somebody should do who's responsible with their career. It's not something I think that people should be able to get all up and down about, calling him a duck and this, that, and the other stuff, because it doesn't fit with what he's done for the rest of what he's done, for the previous portion of his career. The man is a fighter, never has really ducked anybody. He seemed hesitant to take fights before, like with the Sean Porter fight, but he turned around and had the fight with Sean Porter, right? So, I think hopefully the same thing will happen, but it's good to hear, Stephen Espinoza sounding, at least a little bit more optimistic, and we'll see what happens. But anyway, that's my take on the scenario. And with that, I'm out. Peace.